Welcome back to the YouTube channel, The Smarter Manager, and my name is Rohan, and I would love to get you on this journey with me. So let's dive in. Today we are going to be looking at a concept that all managers have to handle, whether it's a project manager, a team lead, you're a frontline worker. We all have to manage to-do list and random to-do list. And there's a whole school of thought that speaks to managing your affairs using just your calendar, and that requires a different thinking, and that's not where most people are. So this is really for people who are using to-do list, and we're going to walk through some of the concepts that can help us do the right things, remember the right things, do them at the right time. And the using the to-do list, the promise for today's video is to give you a system that allows you to capture information quickly and easily. You want to get what I call perfect prompts for all your tasks. So when you've captured it, when and how does it remind you so that you can perform the tasks that are important to you? These are big tasks, small tasks, work tasks, personal tasks, fun, growth, whatever it is. Because remember, we looked at the four quadrants where stuff that's small but important and not yet urgent can become urgent and already important, and you want to make sure you're managing those things. So you want to have a collection system that allows you to maintain your intake and prompts. And you want a concept to organize your to-do list regardless of the app that you're using. So these are the things that we're going to go over today. So stay with me while we continue on the channel. I want to remind you of the whys for this channel, and the one that we're looking at today is showing you some tested concepts. We have these concepts that has been tested. I've used them over the years. I've seen them used and they work. Pointing to the goals of the channel that will be achieved in this video. We're going to empower you as managers with essential tools. We're going to simplify our workflow, and we're going to foster innovation. And this may be an additional tool that you are being exposed to. The daily workflow for each manager, project manager, team lead is driven by your calendar. So you have meetings, you show up for meetings, you take notes, you do whatever. We have become very good at that, and being sort of bossed around by our calendars. We are pretty good at that. We're not going to be looking at that today. Following a systematic project schedule and operational process. What I mean by that, as opposed to as it relates to workflow, is if you have a system that's managing a project and you have a set of tasks that are due every week and it's sort of dissected for you, you can follow that and it becomes to do items, but the structure isn't driven by you. You may also have operational processes where every Wednesday you do an audit and every Thursday you upload the results, and those things are to do items that are a part of a system of a project schedule or an operation schedule. Then we have the list of what I call random tasks, the stuff that pops up, the fixes, the checking out, the checking in. And here are some ways we've, over the years, controlled these. I've seen people use post-it pads, just a bunch of post-it. Something comes in, they write it on a post-it pad, they stick it somewhere where they can see, and then when they're ready to do things, they go to that and they peel things off. A to-do list, standard electronic to-do list, we've all used it. I'm sure people are using AI to help them with this now. I'm not going to get into that in this video. Emails, I've seen where people use emails to help with controlling their random to-do list. So somebody sends in a request to say, hey, can you send me that report? You're not able to do it at that time, and I've seen where people use marking the email as unread or pinging the email so that it pops up back in your inbox tomorrow morning at 9, or several different types of that type of manipulating email to create a to-do list. And we've had people just use notebooks. You have a piece of paper, you have a pen, you write things down. and you scratch it off when you're done. There are several reasons why you want to be able to catch a random list of tasks. Because in addition to the meetings, in addition to the systematic process for the project, you're going to have a bunch of random tasks that are not necessarily homogeneous and sort of following a process. And here are some examples of tools. There are several of them. If you do a Google search, you find a ton of them. I have dabbled with a few of these. I know of some others. Some are new to me. Remember the Milk is an interesting name. Any.do is also interesting. The bottom of this list is one that I have used, and I'm going to demonstrate a feature of it that I absolutely love in TickTick. The next screen shows others that you may have used. ClickUp, Monday.com, those are common sort of to-do list task trackers that are used to help teams work together. Asana is great, awesome for tracking to-do lists, awesome for tracking tasks that are assigned to teams. It's less powerful as a scheduling tool, but as a to-do list tracker, it's awesome. Remember the Milk? I told you about that. The one that I use more than any other is the built-in Apple reminders. It's a cross-platform in terms of your iPad, your phone, your desktop, and there are similar ones that are able to be used in the PC Android world, right? So these are examples of what you can use as tools. So let's look at this 4 categories of list, and I want to encourage you to rethink the way you have your to-do list. And yes, it collects the random list of things that you have to pay attention to. But here are 4 categories that I want you to think of it as to help you harness it in a systematic way. The first one is any reminder system you're using must have a way of giving you, at the click of a button, a list of what you had tagged with today's date on it. So something was entered last week for today. When you open it today, it should automatically populate that to the list. So you have to have a list of items that you hope to achieve today. The next list I want you to look at, and we're going to look at this in more detail, is what I call a reminders list. I've heard it called a tickler file, and there are other names for it, but it's essentially information in, it's assigned a date, and then it populates and pushes to your today list. Or if you want to look at the next 7 days, it pulls what has a tag for the next 7 days. And there are various ways to utilize this also for recurring tasks as well. The inbox is the catchment area. Where do you collect all of the information? Super important to have this so that your methodology for collecting information is standardized. You want to use it so that you master it, so it becomes muscle memory, you become efficient, you become very good at it. The system that works is the system that's collecting in an efficient manner 100% of the input 100% of the times. If it's masterful and it does it 95%, you're going to lose confidence that you're missing the 5% and still exercise a lot of brain power and distraction to processing power to try to remember, to make sure you're remembering these. So your inbox must capture 100% of the input 100% of the time. Then that is super important. The next one I want to look at is the category on your to-do list as to how you move the items when they come in from your inbox to specific list. These lists can be driven by projects. It can be driven by what I call space or context. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples of those. But quickly, space is if you're supervising a process that happens in a location and you need to check on certain things in the location, you want to have a list that when you walk on that location, you can open the list. It doesn't have the distractions of everything else. It just has the the 10 or 11 or 2 things that you can only do when you're in that location. Similar to meetings, we're going to get into that in a moment. So these 4 categories of list, the ones to do today, the reminders list, your general inbox, and then your inbox is processed into specific projects or spaces or context list. All right, so let's go over and look at a demonstration now, and I'm going to take you, the platform I'm using here is TickTick. It's a free app that I have absolutely fallen in love with, and I use this primarily for capturing things. I use this app as my inbox. I have processed it here to show you some of those lists we mentioned, but the major reason I use this app is for my inbox, and I'm going to walk you through what I mean by that in a moment. So here at the top of the list, I can go to today and it shows me everything that has been assigned to today. If you have a to-do list system that doesn't allow you to put a potential date on a task, I would encourage you to rethink your choice and make sure you have one that allows you to add an item, whatever the mechanics is for adding that item, you should be able to add a date. In this case, it gives you a calendar and you click on it and you hit OK. And then your item is added to your to-do list. So that's your input. This one gives you a next 7 days. Others may give you next 5 days or allow you to edit this. But what I wanted to look at here is the locations-based list. The locations-based list here, for example, if I were to click on this site visit, I am managing something that's happening on a site. When I collect the information, I'm in a meeting and something comes up, we need to review the DMX cabling, or we need to review the power up schedule with the GC. Those come into your inbox and they are moved over by you because of you understanding the workflow to the site list. So when you walk on that site, you are not worried about forgetting the important things that you have collected over the week, because it's lost in a list that has everything else, stuff you do at your desk, phone calls, reviews. You have this list and you know that these things are done when you are physically in a certain space. So if you are managing multiple spaces, I would encourage you to have one for each space. If you're managing just one project and it's one major site, you have this. So when you get on the site, you know you need to resolve the conflict. You need to check with custom fixtures. You need to inspect the network. So these were collected since your previous visit, and they are all driven by a location basis, right? Here I have a couple for meetings. So if I'm going to have a meeting with my lead engineer, during my workflow in previous days, every thought that comes up that I need to clarify with the engineer, if it's not an emergency that I need a response now, I start collecting these things, especially if you have a recurring meeting with your lead engineer and you add items here to this list. So when you meet with the lead engineer, this is guiding you and you're not worried and thinking about, how do I remember all that I have to speak with this person about? Same thing here with my lead procurement. And here I have a list for meeting with leadership. So these are all agendas, so to speak, for walking into a meeting. And it's a quick way to add things to these lists. And when I get into these meetings, I can look at my list and go down the line and know that I'm not forgetting anything. The reminders list we spoke about, when you have things that have a specific date, and if you look deeply at this list, you see some stuff that are consumers of my time that are not necessarily work related. But cutting shrubs, I have it on my list. It has a recurring frequency, and I have this happen every so often, and it pops up on my list, my reminders list, because that's like a collection of things that you're going to put a specific date on, so that it populates and passes things out on a daily basis for you. right? I have other lists here that are falling into the same category of things. A Kaizen list is similar to something that I met, which is called, I don't remember which author came up with the concept of a someday maybe. Stuff that someday you would want to do it, but you don't want it populating a list. You could utilize that list. But one of the things I wanted to look at with you, and I'm gonna demonstrate it here. If I'm in a meeting and something comes up and I want to add it to my list, what is the workflow? Think of it for a moment. How do you add things to your list while maintaining your focus? If you're reviewing some documents and you see something that prompts you to say, hey, I need to check that other document to make sure it's consistent, I have a workflow that I'm going to show you how it works. I hit my F1 key, and when I hit my F1 key, it brings up a screen that tells me to add the task here. And then when I hit enter, it disappears. So the interruption is, thought is there, hit F1, F1 populates this, and I add the item, and I hit return. When I'm done with that, I go to my inbox, and lo and behold, the items are here. So what it gives me the comfort of knowing that I can quickly take a note of something, forget about it until I'm ready to process those. So this becomes a part of my inbox. So I can then say review schedule. I can move this to another list if I'm going to do that, or I can complete it then and strike it off, right? So the essence of what I'm showing you is the swiftness with which that works. As I said, I'm hitting F1. It's giving me this dialog box. I add the item here, and then it populates to your inbox. Some of these to-do apps have the intelligence of, if you even mention the word today, it assigns it to today and that type of thing. And those are additional features. But what I want to show you with this app TickTick, and I suggest that if you don't have a system as efficient as this to capture information, that you try it. It's free and it's well worth it. Here is how it works. It doesn't come with the default where F1 does that, but if you go to the icon and go to settings, then you go and look at hotkeys. When you get to hotkeys, you can program the quick add to be any key that you want. So this could be for you, this could be F10, or it could be function 5, whatever you can quickly get to. And when you get the muscle memory, you will be able to do what I can do. Focus on a meeting, something comes up, I hit F1, I add review of join 1.2.1 and 1.2.2, and I have it there in my inbox. And if I were looking at this presentation, let's say I was in the middle of this presentation and it comes up, hit F1, add it here. And if you are sharing your screen, you could always move that to another screen where it doesn't show with your entire team. So that's totally, you're able to do that without exposing it. I'm showing you now because I'm demonstrating it. So the app is called TickTick. It allows you to do that. One touch addition. It's super quick. It's what I call non-invasive. It's low interruption. It doesn't distract you as much. The thought is already there. You can't stop the thought. But what makes us sort of feel apprehensive is something important is remembered in a moment, and you don't have a quick way of noting it, but continuing along the journey that you were on. And that's what I found as a sort of, not a superpower, but I found it to be super useful with that one touch, add, hit return, and it's right there in my inbox, right? So I found that to be super useful. You may want to give it a shot. So you're going to the app, clicking on settings, and then it gives you this, click on hotkeys, and then you program the quick add to be the button that you want it to be. All right. These things are dancing around is quite funny. And again, remember what's happening. This list of things that we have to manage, the stuff that's urgent and important, not urgent, important, and the 4 quadrants we spoke about in the last video. I want to ensure that we have a way of managing our workflow so that we can capture the random things that are coming up in our day to day, and what that means for keeping us on track. We're in meetings and we have the list of random activities that we have to manage. All right, so I'm hoping that this brought some value to you. If you feel that it did, I'm gonna encourage you to go ahead and like and subscribe, share this channel with someone who may benefit from the content. And again, thank you for being here. And I want to. All right, so I'm hoping that this was useful to you. If you like what you saw here, I want you to go ahead and like and subscribe. Share the channel with someone who you think would benefit. And be careful not to get on the treadmill of finding the tool that is more shiny and seems more attractive. But master the tool that you have. As long as it does the basics, the tool has a limit, but our use of that tool, our knowledge of the tool also has a limit. And what we want to do is not shoot to get the tool with the highest limit and not increase our knowledge of how to use said tool. So whatever you have, move this needle up to here to get your mastery of the tool to be a mastery of all that the tool can do. If you find that the tool is not doing what you need it to do, then you change tool. And right, so I'm not encouraging you to change tool. I'm encouraging you to try a tool that allows you to enter information quickly, to sort information, to get your today list. All right, and hope that this is useful. And until next time, this is Rohan. Continue to support us here so that we all can become the smarter manager. Thanks.